This is Jake. Jake is 31 years old, works a normal 9 to 5 job, and just wanted a break. So Jake bought a $5,000 vacation using a credit card. It felt easy. One swipe, and the trip was booked. The vacation lasted 7 days. Beaches, sunsets, a few nice dinners he probably didn't need to buy. But Jake could still be paying for it 7 years later. Not because the bank forced him to, because of how minimum payments quietly work. Because Jake did what millions of people do every single month. He only paid the minimum. It showed up right there on the statement, a small suggested number. So he paid exactly that and moved on with his life. The minimum payment looked harmless. Just a small number at the bottom of the bill, tucked below a much bigger total that Jake barely glanced at. It felt like a rounding error, not a decision that would shape the next several years of his money. Jake thought, I can afford that. And technically, he was right. His checking account could handle the payment every month without stress, no overdrafts, no missed bills. So from where Jake was standing, everything looked completely fine. But the minimum payment was not designed to make Jake debt-free quickly. It was designed, quite deliberately, to keep the account current and technically in good standing. Those are two very different goals, and the difference is where credit card companies make their money. Every month, interest was added to Jake's balance. Then interest was added again the next month, calculated on a slightly larger number than before. It's a quiet, repeating process that most people never actually see happen in real time. The balance was no longer just the price of the vacation. Now Jake was paying rent on the money he borrowed, month after month, for a trip that had ended long ago. The suitcase was unpacked. The bill never stopped arriving. Imagine Jake's card charges about 22% interest. That is close to where many credit card rates have actually recently been. Average credit card interest rates were reported near 22% in May 2026, substantially above pre-pandemic levels. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 4 to 5 times higher than a typical mortgage rate on money that was spent on a vacation, not a house. At that rate, Jake's debt grows every single day he carries the balance, even while he is sleeping, even on weekends, even on holidays. Interest doesn't take a day off, and it doesn't care whether Jake is thinking about it or not. Jake pays $100. It feels like real progress, like he's actively chipping away at what he owes. But a large part of that payment disappears into interest before it ever touches the actual balance he originally borrowed. So Jake sends money every single month, on time, without fail. But the debt barely seems to move. Month after month, the number on the statement looks almost identical to the one before it. And that's exactly the trap. After one full year of consistent payments, Jake has paid hundreds of dollars total. Yet he still owes thousands, almost as much as when he started. On paper, it looks like effort. In reality, it's barely a dent. This is the psychological trick built into minimum payments. They make expensive debt feel affordable, month by month, in small, manageable bites. Nobody feels like they're drowning when the number on the bill looks this small. The bank does not need Jake to miss a payment to profit from him. It can earn money quietly and consistently when he pays exactly as instructed, on time, every single month. In many ways, an obedient minimum payment customer is the most profitable customer there is, and Jake's credit limit makes the situation even more dangerous because every payment he makes creates a little more available room to spend again. The card resets itself just enough to tempt him back in over and over. He pays $100 toward the balance, then almost immediately spends $80 on groceries using that same card because the limit allows it and the money has to come from somewhere. From Jake's perspective, he made a payment, and that feels like progress worth feeling good about. From the balance's perspective, almost nothing actually happened because new spending quietly replaced what he just paid down. Then, like it always eventually does, an emergency happens. Jake's car suddenly needs a $1,200 repair out of nowhere on a random Tuesday morning before work. Jake has no emergency savings set aside because every spare dollar has been going toward that minimum payment. So the repair goes onto the card too, adding new debt directly on top of the old debt that never really left. Now, the vacation debt has become car debt and grocery debt, and interest stacked on all three at once, compounding together into one single overwhelming number that no longer has a clear origin story. This is how a temporary purchase becomes a permanent monthly bill. Not through one huge dramatic mistake, but through dozens of small, forgettable decisions that each felt perfectly reasonable in the moment they were made. Jake is not lazy. He goes to work every day, pays his bills on time, and tries to do everything right. He's not stupid either. He simply never sat down and studied how interest actually compounds against him. He is trapped inside a system that turns small, comfortable payments into very long repayment periods. And it turns high interest rates into massive, reliable profits for the lender, quarter after quarter, year after year. But Jake can escape this, and it starts with one clear decision. First, he stops adding new purchases to the balance completely, no exceptions, no small justified swipes here and there. Next, he creates a small emergency fund, even if it starts embarrassingly small. Even a starter cushion of a few $100s can stop the next surprise expense from going straight onto the card like the last one did. Then Jake pays more than the minimum, deliberately and consistently. Not $10 more just to feel better, as much as his budget can safely allow, every single month, without fail. He can target the card with the highest interest rate first, throwing every extra dollar at that one specifically. This approach is called the debt avalanche, and mathematically, it saves the most money over time. Or he can eliminate the smallest balance first, purely for a psychological win that keeps him motivated. That method is called the debt snowball, and for a lot of people, that motivation matters more than the math. The avalanche may save more in interest over the long run, dollar for dollar. The snowball may feel more motivating in the short run, win after small win. Neither one is universally wrong. The best method is simply the one Jake will actually continue using, month after month, without quitting halfway through. Because consistency matters far more than a perfect spreadsheet that gets abandoned after 3 weeks. Jake also does something most people never bother trying. He calls the credit card company directly. He asks, politely but directly, whether they can lower his interest rate. They might say no, and that's a real possibility worth preparing for. But one short phone call, maybe 10 minutes of mild awkwardness, could potentially save him real money for the rest of the time he carries that balance. Slowly and then not so slowly, Jake finally begins watching his balance fall for the first time in years. $5,000 becomes $4,000. And for the first time, the number is moving in the right direction. $4,000 becomes $2,000, month after disciplined month. And eventually, after a long stretch of consistent effort, $2,000 becomes zero, completely paid off. The moment Jake becomes debt-free, something genuinely changes in his life. His paycheck finally belongs to him again in full, for the first time in longer than he can remember. The money that once went toward interest every single month can now build his emergency fund back up. Then, once that cushion exists, it can begin building real wealth instead of just covering old mistakes. Credit cards are not automatically evil. Used responsibly and paid in full, they can be a genuinely useful tool. But minimum payments can quietly hide the true, compounding cost of carrying debt. Before buying something with borrowed money, ask one simple question first. How much will this actually cost after interest if I only pay the minimum for the next few years? Because the price on the receipt is not always the real price you end up paying. And the smallest, most harmless-looking payment can sometimes create the biggest financial trap of your entire year. Subscribe to Wealth Files for more stories about the hidden systems quietly controlling your money every single day. Because the more you understand money, the harder it becomes for money to